So do we now say, you know what? Let's bring Lloyd in over Ray Davis, or do we want to go Ray Davis? What do we want to do here, Zach?
See, that's tough. But I don't see Marshawn Lloyd as a running back one on his own.
And I do see Ray Davis as a running back one.
I do.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? We're back for another mock draft. Double moving foots here, man. I think the last one we did was a hit. I love collabing with Double Move, bro. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Man, Zach, I think that this draft season has been interesting nonetheless. Let me ask you this, nonetheless. Zach, are you getting draft fatigue?
Oh, yes. I'm getting prospect fatigue at this point. Like watching these guys so many times, hearing their names all the time, I'm ready to get to the draft.
For sure. I think one of the things that is happening is people are either second-guessing themselves, they're second-guessing their board, they're finding reasons why this guy should be better than said player. And it's like I go back to some of my stacks. I got my stacks out for this show. I go back to some of my stacks that I made, even in November, some of my prospect watch list. Zach, I'm going to trust my first mind here. We've been doing this long enough, man. I've been doing this. I'm going to trust myself and say, you know what? If I had a player right here, unless the medical, unless the workout was just awesome. Like, okay, I'll give you an example before we get started, like a Kalen King. The film last year was actually better than the film this year, but then he goes to the Senior Bowl, he bombs it. The testing is bombed. It's just been a complete disaster. So I do have to drop a player like that. But, for the most part, I'm going to trust the film. I'm going to trust my first mind. Is that kind of like your thought process when you're looking at prospects?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I catch myself going back and wanting to rewatch a player, and then I just start questioning everything that I know up to that point. Because, I didn't start quite as early as you in November, but starting even in February throughout all of March and getting into April, getting close to the draft, I'm questioning everything at this point. But like you said, there are players that we're learning more about. Peyton Wilson, for example. Yeah, it definitely matters what we learn about these players even in the coming weeks.
Yes. Some of the interesting nuggets too. We had Cooper DeJean. He did finish and do his pro day, his workout. Darius Robinson was another one who did his own separate workout. I thought those are two highly rated prospects who could be sneaky. Like, I don't want players, and we talked about this pre-show. Let's bring this to the show before we actually start this mocker here. Foots, and Zach, you jump in. I do not want the Cowboys to lock into a position. Now, you made a great point. This tackle class is extremely deep. I do have some of these top receivers. I would say my top 5 receivers over the 7th, 8th ranked tackle. Me personally, on my top 100. BPA, Zach, do we start getting into a need? What's your thought there before we get started?
So with the Cowboys, I think sometimes your BPA, especially when you have two players so closely graded, it does turn into a need, right?
Yes.
So if you have two players, their tags are touching on what you have them graded as, I think BPA turns into what you need. So if your 7th ranked tackle is this close to your 5th wide receiver, this Cowboys team has to take the tackle because they just didn't afford themselves the luxury of making a wide receiver pick. I know a lot of people bring up 2022 or 2020 with CeeDee Lamb.
Yes.
And the Cowboys did have needs there, but did they have a undrafted free agent starting at center and left guard?
Yeah. Very, very, very young players,
kind of where we're at.
Unproven players. Yeah. And that 2020 draft is, needed guys like one of the defensive end, one of the defensive help. You went with CeeDee Lamb. It turned out great, but then there's also been times where the Cowboys have done that. You had a chance to get, I look at last year, you go Schoonmaker, Osiris Torrance is on the board, other guards and interior linemen are on the board. Osiris Torrance played really good football for the Bills last year. So some of those things you got to be careful with. So I see it both ways. All right, here we go. We set the stage.
Let's start it.
Let's start this mock. And no surprises at the top. Let me ask you this before we get started. Could there be any surprises at the top of the draft to you? I think we kind of know the first 3 will be quarterbacks. We just don't know which way.
I think Marvin Harrison can go at 3. I think that's a real possibility.
Nice.
The Patriots are in such a bad situation that it's like, do you want to stick a quarterback in there?
Yeah, Zach.
There's a chance you take Marvin Harrison, get just let somebody in there where they're not really, their confidence can't be broken immediately, like a rookie quarterback. I think Marvin Harrison at 3 is a really big possibility.
That you guys mark this, okay? When you guys watch this mock draft, and remember that Zach said that because I like that. I think everybody's locked Jaden Daniels to New England.
Yep.
They did re-sign Jacoby Brissett. They know that they don't have talent. Yep. They know that they need to bring talent in. It'd be hard for me to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr.
I don't really think it would be that hard for me to pass on Jaden Daniels. Or
that's a great point as well.
It's just there's some things that pop up in Jaden Daniels' film and statistically where you're kind of like, and Marvin Harrison is legit the best wide receiver prospect we've seen in
last 10 years.
Yeah, a decade. So hard to pass up on him too.
Another point too. I know this is Cowboys talk, but you guys, if you're watching this, you guys are here for the draft. One of the things about quarterback, you look at the 21 draft, you look at teams picking the top of the class every year. I mean, at the top of the draft cycle every year. Same teams. Washington recycled it to the Giants for a while, was the Browns. Those teams, these quarterbacks flame. There probably will be, the draft has become such a moneymaker that, you hype all these guys up, but then you look back and it's like, oh man, only one of those guys hit.
Oh yeah, and out of 5.
Out of 5.
Out of 5 guys, one will hit.
One will hit. Mark our words. And so why? They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the patience. You look at an organization like New England, who historically has been a good new organization. They'll just let teams overdraft these quarterbacks. McCarthy, who I have a 2nd-round grade on JJ McCarthy. Yeah. That's not going to change. He's been hyped up to be a 1st-round player. I get it. Cool. I have a 2nd, 3rd on Bo Nix. I have a 2nd-round grade on Michael Penix. But I get it. That's the price you pay. It's an expensive tax to pay for quarterbacks. Yep. But like you said, these guys, they'll end up flaming. We don't know which one, but I'm sure they'll flame. And the team that just stands in, takes good players, they'll change their franchise. So that's a good hit, Zach.
Yeah. And I like Jacoby Brissett for New England. Bridge. Very level quarterback, get you through the mud of this season. If you do get him a Marvin Harrison Jr., he might be able to do some things with it, win a couple games. But I don't see a point in throwing Jaden Daniels or Drake May in a situation like that. They're May is 21 years old. You're going to hurt that young man's confidence early. Yeah. So the wide receiver might be the best choice for New England, or trade out and maybe get a Malik Neighbors, a Romo Dunze, something like that. But, yeah. So we only got one trade offer right here. And I think my first thoughts on that is I don't want to move back quite that far. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's too far. And you'd be trading away from some good players that I can kind of peek and see on the board. Could you let's look and see if we can offer Buffalo a trade. Yeah. Let's see if they want to come up. Because I think I wouldn't want to trade away. I'm just peeking at some of the guys on the board. I wouldn't want to do that.
Well, let's look at them real quick. Who would you be trading away from?
So you'd be trading away from right now, Latu. This is something that we talked about weeks ago.
Yes.
Where I just couldn't. I was standing and pick him. Mm-hmm. Okay. Unless I got an opportunity to get more picks in another situation.
Would you stand in there and pick him with the concerns? Because I know we talked about health before the show. Would you stand in there and pick him knowing that he missed 2 years of football, the age, the concerns that come with the player?
I think that on film, I think his film, and we talked about Peyton Wilson. I think that his film exceeds a Peyton Wilson's to where I think that you would have to. It's worth the gamble if you've done your research. You know what's there. Now, if you don't make the pick. But the resources that I have, which is just my eyes, and he doesn't have the same amount of surgeries that a Peyton Wilson has had. I think I would have to stand in and pick Latu. Yeah, so that would be me.
Let's see if Buffalo is interested in a trade.
Yeah.
So you want to do 24, we'll get to 28 and ask for round 4, 128. That's fair to you, or do you want something else? You want a late 6? Would you want to possibly move up 216 to 200?
Let's see if we can offer both of those. Right now, is that showing as even?
Yep, accepted. Yep. It's actually in favor of Buffalo.
I would make that trade because we can get more picks and possibly better value in the later rounds. Okay. Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, boom. We got the
Oh,
trade.
look at
Good.
that. Let's see who's available at this pick. Look, we still have some really good offensive linemen on the board. Amarius Mims, Jackson Powers Johnson, who is another medical red flag, I believe.
Yes.
Johnny Newton, Tyler Guyton, the most famous Cowboys mock draft pick of all time.
Yes.
So that's who's available at number 28.
It'd be hard not to draft Amarius Mims. We talked about him pre-show, but I like that.
Do you want to see the trade offers? Would you be interested in trading back again?
I would be interested in trading anywhere in the upper 30s. Yes, okay. I would. Looking at this stack right now, yes.
Let's see what Washington's 36.
Too deep, too far for me.
35, pushing it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Carolina at 33.
Interesting.
Offering a 6 next year and a 5 at pick 141 this year. And then Green Bay, no, they're way too far back at 88. So would you be interested in moving back 5 picks? Or we can sit here and I'll make the pick right now.
And we'll draft. And now we would get another 5th.
We would get, we pick up 141 in the 5th round.
As I look at this stack, I would say, let's make this pick.
Let's make the pick, yeah.
Yeah, let's make this pick.
I am going to go with Amarius Mims from Georgia because of the Jackson Powers Johnson. He's been falling a lot recently in mock drafts. Mel Kiper hasn't put him in his mock draft one time in the first round. The center class is, I believe it was Brandon Thorne on Twitter talking about how much this center class is going to stretch. That he thought that there were going to be 8 to 10 starting quality centers in this draft, which seems like a ton. But you have Cedric Van Pran, Jackson Powers Johnson, Zach Frazier. You have Graham Barton. That's 4 right there. It is an interesting thing. The tackles might not stretch quite as far as that. So Amarius Mims being there we're at pick 28. He's on over Jackson Powers Johnson on my board and obviously the position value as well.
I think that you just nailed it with that point right there. I mean, I have nothing else to say. You're not going to have that level of tackle in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Yeah. So Amarius Mims, it is at 28. I feel like I love that pick.
Nailed it.
To move back and still getting Amarius Mims. The mock draft likes it as well. A+.
Let me ask you a question, Zach. When it comes to Mims, what's going to be your offseason plan with him? So,
like, how are we getting him comfortable enough to play snaps on week 1 at left tackle?
Yes.
Once he gets drafted on the draft day call, get ready to play left tackle. He's getting a ton of reps in training camp. I think preseason he needs to be out there getting reps. To show you that he can stay healthy. I know the health is a concern. Hopefully that can happen for 3 or 4 preseason games now. Maybe him and Tyler Smith getting some reps next to each other in a little bit of live action, even if it is for a drive or 2. But with this guy, it's going to be he needs to play football.
Absolutely.
He needs to play live action football at left tackle.
Man, sign me up, bro.
Yep.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
So what do you think about these players sitting here right now with Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, Roman Wilson? And then you're going to have your pick of the running backs as well.
All right, Zach. So looking at this running back stack, Jonathan Brooks, the hipster pick. First, before we go any further, I really did a deep dive into Jonathan Brooks. And I can honestly say, if healthy, I do think that tags would be touching for him and Trey Benson for me.
Yep.
Now, this ranking has Jonathan Brooks over Trey Benson. I like Trey Benson, the player. I would be fine drafting a running back here at 2.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Jonathan Brooks before we go any further?
So I was actually just reading a report about Jonathan Brooks talking about his injury, and he said that his timeline is for the beginning of training camp. That's what he's gearing towards. And we've talked about all offseason long with the Cowboys is we need people ready to play now. Yes. So I think fully healthy, I agree with you, Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks, their tags are touching. So do you feel like you're getting a really good player in Brooks in year 1 coming off that ACL? Because based on what we saw last year with Pollard and the leg injury, Michael Gallup, like I'm afraid of that injury, of ACLs, lower leg injuries.
What does Still have, Zach?
ACL, same thing. So it's like they're just not the same guys. So Benson in year 1 is going to be better than Brooks, if I had to guess. That's my opinion. Year 2, year 3, year 4, that's where you have to separate How do you see their projection?
I think that's a good nugget. Okay, so let's put an asterisk on Benson. Let's go to the receiver room, please, sir. And I want to look at these receivers because I want to look at pass catchers. Okay, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to have a conversation with you about Jermaine Burton. All of it, obviously, all of our top guys are gone. I was hoping that Keon Coleman would somehow be around, but like I told people, Keon Coleman is gonna go. Roman Wilson, I don't know if I like him here. I want a guy who can play some on the edge and some in the slot. And for me, right now, that would probably be Javon Baker and Jermaine Burton in the second round.
Yep.
I like Tez Walker, but I like those guys a little bit better. Now, let's talk through Jermaine Burton for a second, and then we'll probably make this pick. So for me with Burton, the off the field is extremely interesting.
Yep.
In the sense of he hasn't done anything criminal, but there are coaches who question some of his decisions. He's been to so many different schools from high school to college. He was a 4-star recruit, and he did do he committed at UCLA, then decommitted, committed somewhere else, then he committed to Miami, then decommitted, and he committed to Georgia, and so the whole nine, LSU. Then he ends up at Georgia. The Georgia scheme didn't work for him. Then after he was at Georgia, goes to Alabama, slow start, but then he showed the flashes.
Yep.
After saying all that, what are your thoughts about him? Because the film is so good. It's just so good, man.
You were talking about him leaving a lot of places. That and being able to just pick up and start and be productive, that shows you the talent. The skill level is immense. To go from Georgia to go right into Alabama and play, and I believe he put up 600-700 yards.
Yes, he did.
At Alabama, like you said, the off the field stuff is concerning. On the field, the dude is probably a legit early second round pick. We also talked about Kelvin Joseph, the second round pick. I know it's not the same tier, no criminal activity.
Yes.
But the attitude, the work ethic, there's questions surrounding him a little bit. Do you feel comfortable taking a Jermaine Burton over a Trey Benson that is going to be a starter as well, a high value player, a guy that works hard, all of those things? I think that's the question. It just Jermaine Burton's athleticism and projection outweigh the stuff you're going to have to deal with off the field or on the field as well.
I want to learn from my mistakes. We're going to turn in this Jalen McMillan card. So we just talked about Jermaine Burton. I have a super high grade on Jalen McMillan.
Okay.
Mike Renner says something that I believe is so key. If you can leave this draft with an O-lineman and a receiver in the first 2 rounds, I think that you really hit on something. Jalen McMillan, let me talk to him really, really quickly. I know I just did a whole diatribe on Jermaine Burton, but Jalen McMillan, he was part of that big 3 at Washington. If you just watched his 2022 tape, you would have drafted him probably in the end of the first round this year.
Yep.
This year, dealt with a few injuries, but still had the route running ability. Obviously, Rome Odunze took over that Washington receiver core, but all of those guys played hard for each other. I think that what you get with McMillan is a guy who can win on the edge. He can win the slot. Really exceptional route runner. So the route runners in this class, route runners in this class, Ladd McConkey, Jermaine Burton, Tez Walker, and Jalen McMillan. I just have a better feel for Jalen McMillan, and I would draft him right here in the second round. Try kind of change things up a little bit. So we got our tackle. Now we got our pass catcher because we just don't know what step Jalen Tolbert is going to take. I feel comfortable with having a player who's played big-time football in Jalen McMillan.
For sure. And we talked about that last time with our draft. Is the wide receiver room is a sneaky need right now for this team.
Yes.
So if you spend a near top 50 pick on a wide receiver, I'm not going to be mad.
Yes. Sounds good.
Do you want to offer entertain any of these trades, or you want to? Here's an interesting one right here.
Let's talk about it.
The Bucks are offering, they want pick 87. They are offering 89, 125, and 220. So they're rich. Whoever is on the board right now is somebody important that they want.
And so he's on the board. We're going to move back 2 spots.
Yep.
Let's take that trade. Let's look
at who's on the board real quick.
And now we can double back.
We can look at it. Got Braylon Trice, Mason Smith, Rook Ohoro.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Blake Corum is on the board. Jalen Wright is still there as well.
Let's go to our linebacker stack here. Oh, not bad. I like Tommy Eichenberg a lot. I love Trevin Wallace. Could double dip there at some point. Let's take that trade.
Let's take it. Yeah.
Let's take that trade. We're willing and dealing in this draft. We need picks. We want to throw a lot of competition together at training camp. I like this.
Right. So who did we lose? Braylon Trice is who they came up for. And
ooh, that must be their Joe Tryon. I'm hearing that they want to move Joe Tryon, Shuinga. He was a Washington defensive end, so maybe that's going to be his replacement. So solid move by the Bucks there.
All right, here we are at 89.
Nice.
Now, let's look at this real quick.
And we got the picks, so now we can kind of we could gamble a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to ask you, is there another position that you want to spend a top 100 pick on? I think I want to spend a top 100 pick on a running back.
I think I would not mind double dipping. We said this before.
Yeah.
We didn't get our back. I would not mind coming out of this draft with 2 backs.
Yeah.
We like Rico Dowdle. We don't love Rico Dowdle. I think that the Deuce Vaughn story is awesome, but he's not stopping me from bringing in talent. If you want to pick use a top 100 pick on, and like we said, this center and this interior offensive line class does stretch. So if you want to use that, I'm not mad at you, Zach. I'm not going to fight you there.
So we did lose Cedric Van Pran, who is about a middling 3rd rounder. Zach Zinter, your guy, is still available.
It's my guy
from Michigan. Do you think he could play center?
Yes, I do. There's actually Sharon Moore, who's now the head coach in Michigan, was the offensive line coach and co-offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Zach Zinter came into camp as a freshman, and he took a lot of snaps at center. Okay. He's spoken on the fact that he has that position flex. So yes.
Okay. See, that's an interesting one too, because if Zach Zinter can play center,
yes,
we were talking about this earlier. Zach Zinter can play center. You have Tyler Smith at left guard, and we drafted Amarius Mims at left tackle. Boom, your offensive line just changed.
You remade it.
Just like that. With us picking up that 125th pick, I think I feel more comfortable waiting on the running back. Now, we wouldn't have picked up 125 and 128. You're waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Between 89 and 174. You're going to lose guys like, let's look on here real quick, like Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, Audric Estime, Bucky Irving, Ray Davis, Isaac Guerendo. All those guys are likely going to be off the board before 175 or 174.
Yes.
So I think I feel more comfortable picking up those 4th round picks and taking a center.
Oh,
let's do it.
So now we've just remade our offensive line. Okay. The competition on the offensive line will be real. Okay.
Yes.
I think we'll reject that trade, but now we feel a lot better about protecting Dak.
Yep.
Got your weapon, and now we attack running back. So let's look at the running backs and linebackers. I think now this is where we get gritty. And right there, if Marshawn Lloyd is available, it'd be hard not to draft him.
Yes, I agree.
I just want to look at it. Actually, you know what? I want to talk through both of these players.
Okay.
Because now that I see Ray Davis,
dude,
you might have just talked the facial expression you just made.
I like Ray Davis.
We're gonna turn in that Ray Davis card for a few reasons.
Yep.
I think he brings more of an attitude than Marshawn Lloyd in his running style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
a more like veteran running style is what I look at Ray Davis, and I'm like, that dude has played a lot of football.
He's played a lot of football.
This smart, savvy, very smooth. Marshawn Lloyd just kind of looks young. Hold on. I actually have a little nugget right here. So Marshawn Lloyd has had the 3rd least amount of carries in this draft class of running backs. He's had 325 total touches throughout his college career.
Yes.
Ray Davis has had 840 in his college career.
Now let me ask you this: will that play into your mindset of has he taken too much punishment?
Exactly.
So do we now say, you know what? Let's bring Lloyd in over Ray Davis, or do we want to go Ray Davis? What do we want to do here, Zach?
See, that's tough. But I don't see Marshawn Lloyd as a running back 1 on his own.
And I do see Ray Davis as a running back 1.
I do. What with Ray Davis and Blake Corum, I know you're a Blake Corum guy.
Yes.
Those 2 guys are the hardest to put together because they're a little bit older. I know Blake Corum's 22. I believe Ray Davis is 23, will turn 24. He's at 840 touches. Corum's at 731. It's tough. A lot of punishment, a lot of carries on that body. And Ray Davis is, I'm pretty sure he's 23, 24 years old. Don't misquote me on that.
Yeah, but you know what? I can't worry about that, Zach, because I'm only going to use this running back for his first contract.
Running backs don't even get past their first contract. So
let's go Ray Davis.
Okay.
He's a win now player. He adds the physicalness that we'll need for the next 3 to 4 years. He's gritty, and we can double down at the position later in this draft. So I'm not mad at going Ray Davis here.
This is the prospect fatigue that we were talking about. we get crazy. Like, he's old.
800 carries. He can't play football anymore. It's like he's fine.
His legs barely work. No, we're not going to do anything with next year. We ain't going to move back that far. And not that far. All right. So I know you want to look at the linebacker stack.
Yes.
The last 3 picks ago. So tell me about what these two guys, Tommy Eichenberg and Trevin Wallace, how do you see them stacking up? Because Tommy Eichenberg got some high praise from Dane Brugler a couple weeks ago. He was talking about a 3rd round pick.
So I think
locker room guy.
Been a team captain.
Yep.
So I'll say this about both of these guys that are available. I don't think that there's a wrong answer. And I know that this is your pick, so I don't want to take it away from you. But I'll just say this. Trevin Wallace has now moved to Dane Brugler's 3rd overall linebacker. So that might be, if you guys haven't got the Beast, and the Beast is pretty much the draft Bible. And that's not to say that my stacks don't all equal up with Dane's stacks. So I just want to make that clear. But I will say that Dane does incredible work, and I'm a fan, and we've talked, and but I'll say this. With the good with Trevin Wallace is really good. And I think what he was able to do at the Senior Bowl. So your Mike day one is going to be Eric Kendricks. Your Mike day one will be Eric Kendricks. He knows the defense. I don't think that you would ask Trevin Wallace to be your Mike. We also know that this linebacker core could stretch, because I don't know if a linebacker comes off the board maybe in the top 40, 50 picks, just because of positional value. And these linebackers, there is no real stud in this class as far as has everything, all the tools. So I think that I would be fine with Trevin Wallace, although Tommy Eichenberg just does seem like a steady Eddie pick. So you couldn't go wrong with either one. But I think for me, I'm going to go Trevin Wallace. I like what he put on film, and I like how he moved at the combine. So I'm going to go Trevin Wallace here.
And it is a position that needs bodies bad.
Yes.
Bad. It with Leighton Vander Esch retiring, Damone Clark not really being the guy that you want, DeMarvion Overshown coming off the ACL, like very, very thin. I mean, you're an Eric Kendricks injury away from being in right back where you were last year.
Yes.
And we know how that turned out. So I'm completely good with the Trevin Wallace pick.
Yes.
Let's do it. It's not, it's nice having 4th round picks.
It is, man.
Not waiting till 174. You have to wait 85 picks, I believe.
That second trade that we made, I think, was good stuff right there.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and sit here and make our picks.
Nice. What does D-line do for you now, Zach? Haven't touched it. Haven't touched tackle or edge.
So
there goes our guy,
another position that needs bodies really bad. This is where I'm going to start looking at defensive linemen. I've said before, I'm not with taking a defensive lineman or like a Byron Murphy if he were to slide. I'm just not doing it because the Cowboys haven't given themselves the luxury of making that pick.
I agree.
They haven't given themselves the luxury of taking a Byron Murphy. We know what happened with Tavondre Sweat, not really in on him in the 2nd round. That was kind of the 2nd or 3rd round option for the Cowboys.
Now, Brennan Jackson is a guy that I would stand up on the table for. He's another steady Eddie, just a hard playing Jesse. Now, if you want somebody who can stack the run well, and I think that's what we kind of need to find out. And I'll be so interested to hear Zimmer's press conferences around the draft. What is he looking for in these players? Because we knew what Dan Quinn was looking for with these players. He wanted guys that were going to get upfield. I don't know if Zimmer has that same if those are his same needs on the D-line. I don't know if he wants a more physical player. I don't know if he wants a player that's going to play the run on the way to the quarterback. So these are some of the things. But I do like Brennan Jackson a lot, the Washington Washington State.
A little. I'm looking at his size profile. 6'4", 264. A good pass rush win rate in the top 75 percentile. So
Yeah,
I like that. Let's look at the interior. I know we took Jordan Jefferson in our last mock. We're not
we did.
gonna do that. So let's go defensive lineman.
Okay.
I'm all for if you're gonna pound the table for Brennan Jackson.
No, I like him. I said.
Yeah.
I mean, I stand on Brennan Jackson. He's
Okay.
he reminds me of who just got paid, and a lot of people don't talk about him in Pittsburgh. So Alex Highsmith, to me, when you look at, that's exactly who Brennan Jackson plays like, bro. Go cut the film on.
Yeah.
Like, and they just extended him for that reason. Steady Eddie, really good at like not great at anything, really good at everything. When you got a high volume rusher like TJ Watt, that other rusher, if he's just a motor guy, you're good. And that's exactly how Brennan Jackson plays.
Yep. All right, I'm good. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I like that pick.
Now I think that we can so that was your pick. I think that we can go back. I want to now look at these linebackers again because I want to overcorrect. So either it's linebacker for me or it's running back. I want to overcorrect and make sure that we hit those positions so those never hold us hostage again.
Yep.
The only other position that I could possibly look at is maybe if there's a guard that we like, but I can already see some running backs. So Curtis Jacobs is interesting. He's Dane Brugler's 10th linebacker. I want to put an asterisk by him.
Yep. I know that he is undersized, quick guy. He's not like what does he weigh? He's like 230.
He's light.
He's light. He looks like he plays light. He's quick, fast.
Yeah. So I think with him, I think he may be around like 235.
Yeah.
And so I would play him at will, and he'll always be my will. Special teams guy. I think that you could look there. Let's go to running back because I'm telling you, I'm not mad at double dipping because these two could, Rico, these two could be your two running backs from here on out.
Yep.
Rasheen Ali, gotta have this conversation. He's been buzzing heavy.
Yes.
Would you feel comfortable making this pick here?
So I actually have a guy.
Yes.
I think you know who this guy is I would rather take about 30 picks from now. But if you want to go ahead and take the running back because you like Rasheen Ali, that's good.
If you want to wait for your pick and you want to pound the table, I got my pound the table guy. Okay. Let's go back to linebacker. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take Curtis Jacobs, and now we got our special teams ace. Okay, we got Trevor Wallace, who we have plans to actually play for us. But these things change. Jacobs could come in, beat out Trevor Wallace, be the better player day one. Yep. Comes from Penn State, linebacker U. Let's make that pick, and I feel good about that pick.
I love throwing more linebacker bodies at the position because, like we were talking about with the quarterbacks, one of these guys, even if one hits, you're sitting pretty.
You're good
for the next 4 years at least, and then if they get a second contract and whatnot, throwing as many darts. And that's why we made the trade back. If you take 3 linebackers, it's better than taking one at 89 or one at 174 because you have other positions that need dart throws as well. I'm going to do it. And I know it's early, but I don't care because this is my guy, Blake Watson from Michigan.
Nice.
I texted you about him the other day. I was like, dude, this guy, I know it's the age as well. He's going to turn 25 in November. For Blake Watson, he's an incredibly productive player. He had a great college career, 3.74 yards after contact, 6 yards per carry in 2023. Excellent lateral agility. He moves extremely well, makes people miss. That's what I like. Blake Watson catches the ball extremely well, and he can turn around, move upfield extremely fast. Like I said, he does turn 25 1 month into being a rookie running back. He has a pretty small frame, 4th percentile in weight, 19th percentile in height, and he doesn't really have elite top end speed. But I do like him a lot, especially in the late rounds. Pick 220, I have no problem spending that pick on another running back. We're double dipping, a potential third down option out of the backfield catching the ball. So what do you think about Blake Watson?
I'll tell you this, you could look up and both your running backs could be better than the running backs and the 2 running backs leading the way a year from now. They could both be better than Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn, Blake Watson, and I'll put it to you like this. Ray Davis and Blake Watson, and this isn't just draft recency bias.
Yeah.
I would like that pairing versus probably Rico and Deuce Vaughn a year from now.
Yeah.
And that, so I think what happened with Deuce Vaughn was you got to see it live, and while you saw the splash plays,
Mhm.
when it got to real NFL bullets, it's just too much.
It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different, and that's not counting the guy out.
Yeah.
I just think that's a real thing.
Yep.
Zach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's turn in the card.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Look, this we're gonna get an F for that one. Yeah. All right.
And that's okay
Look at our big board.
because we know what we want there. Dude, Jalix Hunt is up there on our big board, and I can see that.
What do you think about Caden Wallace, opposite of Fashanu?
So Caden Wallace is a very interesting player. I thought that he was what you would call a poor man's Fashanu. He got beat a little bit more.
Mhm.
He was who teams would put when they wanted to get away from Caden from Fashanu. They would run stunts his way. I don't think he's a bad player. He'd probably be a draft and stash type guy.
Mhm.
Maybe we could get him as a UDFA. I wouldn't mind going back to we double dipped at linebacker. I wouldn't mind looking at a quarterback here. I think that Dallas and what Mike McCarthy wants to draft a quarterback every year.
So how does this quarterback pick look if the plan isn't for McCarthy to be here past 2024? How does that have any effect? I know we're way down here. We're at 233. But do you think they give McCarthy his pick at 233? Is it worth it to try and develop him if McCarthy's not going to be around past this?
And if he doesn't know he's going to have a job? That's a good point.
No, but I'm good. I want to hear your thoughts on the other quarterbacks, because that is why not? Quarterback's a high-end position. You throw some darts at it.
Well, the guy I really like is South Alabama quarterback Carter Bradley. I want to see if he was there, and I see him standing right there. So keep it asterisk by him. But the point that you made about Mike McCarthy is true. Double, like when it comes to Mike, Big Mike is about as all in as it gets. But I do believe when I watched if you watched his last press conference, and it wasn't a press conference, more like a TED talk, him at the coaches meeting, he's gonna die on that Green Bay, Ted Thompson. We're going to draft and give these guys an opportunity. That's just who he is. And so I think that is under his regime, he's going to stay true to that. So let's look at the safeties real quick. I think the safety is also an underrated need, especially when it comes to Zimmer. I think that, with Zimmer, he's a guy that may want his guys in there. Oh, he is there. Is that Trey Taylor?
Yeah.
Oh, turn that card in.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I couldn't see. Yeah, Trey Taylor. Oh man, yeah, high energy. Didn't play a lot of big time games, but the film is outstanding. Zach, when you get a chance, go watch Trey Taylor. Okay. That's what I was looking to see if he was going to be hanging around.
Yeah,
and sure, lo and behold, he's there. Listen, that's another pound of table. That's the scouts pick right there. Trey Taylor is really, really good. And
is that a potential undrafted free agent signing?
Yes. Keep in mind, anybody watching this video, if you see him, they may offer him some extra money. Come run down on special teams. Special teams is going to be a big emphasis now because of the new kickoff rules. You're going to actually need guys giving maximum effort.
Yep.
So you're going to need those aces. He could be one of those guys.
For sure.
And he does have real safety ability.
Hey, you talked me into the pick. I like it. We're here at 244. This is a guy that has stuck out to me, and that's Dylan McMahon, NC State. Not just because it's my hometown, my home state. McMahon is a very interesting guy. He had a 9.81 relative athletic score. We talk about taking athletes. He is a bit undersized. He has center and guard flexibility. He played both at NC State over his 4 years there. The size does kind of scare you because he isn't the biggest guy, under 300 pounds. I would like throw some darts at the offensive line position. I feel like we can't go bad with that. You're going to have Zach Martin possibly retiring in 2 or 3 years, or in a year or two or 3 years, whatever it ends up being. So why not stash another offensive lineman? We're all the way down here at pick 244. I'm going to turn in the card for Dylan McMahon. Do you have any thoughts on him?
Actually, I haven't watched Dylan McMahon. I won't actually say that I have, but just listening to you talk about the player, I'm going to add him to my list.
Yep.
But again, I like the theory of what you're doing here, Zach. Let's throw bodies at these positions. You didn't hit on some of these tackles that you drafted. You talk about last year when it comes to guys like Awesome Richards, Matt Waletzko. Some of these guys haven't turned into what they were supposed to
Yep.
be, and that's okay. Let's keep throwing bodies at the positions, and let's see what we can get out of these guys.
Yeah, and I know people look at it and it's like, why are you spending a pick on that? Why are you spending a pick on that? But who would have thought that Terrence Steele would have worked out? Who would have thought that Terrence Steele would have got an $80 million contract when he was an undrafted free agent? So, you
Yeah.
might hit on one of these you might hit on an interior guy or a tackle.
Keep
It's
throwing bodies
worth
at the
taking a
position.
shot at it for sure.
Yeah. Let's look at our draft class, man.
All right, so we got Amarius Mims at 28, Jalen McMillan from Washington, Zach Zinner, interior offensive lineman, Ray Davis, Trevin Wallace, Brennan Jackson, Curtis Jacobs, Blake Watson, Trey Taylor, and Dylan McMahon. That feels like a haul.
It was the trade. It was the trade that you you hit on in the middle round.
Yep.
Zach, being able to get those extra picks, you could take a few chances. You could double up on a few positions, and then now you're saying, hey, this is what an all-in draft looks like.
Yeah,
and the Cowboys want to win through the draft. I mean, fans don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
they want to hear about free agency, but the truth is, if you can get a Ray Davis to come in mid-season, game 2 or 3, and he starts breaking off big runs, you say, wow. Maybe we did need to get Derrick Henry, or maybe we just got a back who's already has a pro body, because I think that Ray Davis has a pro body.
Yeah,
and then Trevin Wallace, maybe there is an injury in the linebacker core, and Trevin Wallace steps in, and now you're not looking for every free agent that's ever been released to play linebacker. Now Trevin Wallace can do it, and so now you feel a lot better. Jalen McMillan is coming through for catches over the middle of the field when everybody's using resources for the one thing. This is what I mean by I want the Cowboys to, and I want Cowboys content creators, the writers, everybody around to understand just what we need and dive in.
Yeah.
When CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson are being doubled, resources are being used for those guys, you don't need I would love to have a top end receiver. I would.
Yeah.
I loved your Amarius Mims pick, but guess what? You just need a guy to win and win right now and win consistently. A guy like Jalen McMillan can do it. And then honestly, if you can knock the home run out with Amarius Mims, your offensive line is set for the next 10 years.
And I heard a really good saying the other day: the trenches raise your floor, the weapons on the outside raise your ceiling.
Oh, that's good, Zach.
There you go.
That's good stuff.
We're getting philosophical right here.
Hey man, what an amazing draft with you,
dude,
bro.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. 10 picks, that's fun. Getting a trade back and having 10 picks, taking as many shots as we can, dude.
10 picks with name recognition, but then also a few guys who we said we're just gonna pound the table for with Brennan Jackson. I liked the NC State kid that I hadn't even watched. I don't want to act like I have. Man, I feel good about this draft. I think that we could stand to get one more in, Zach. Do we want to give the fans one more after this one?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Right before the draft. Let's do it. We're
going to go all the way up until the 18th hour.
There we go. Dude, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a good
one,
man.
It's always fun.
Man, this was always fun, man, Zach.
For sure.
Let's tap back in, man. I'm Foots. Yep. That's for Zach, man. Thank you for just locking this in. I think that we can get one more to you guys. Use this exercise, send it around to your friends. And as always, thank you guys for liking, share, subscribe. Type in the comments what you guys think about this class, and we'll try to get you guys. If you don't like this one, maybe we'll do a better one for you. Who knows?
Peace.
Peace.